Hello, daughter of mine. How are you, darling?
I am so well. How are you doing?
Very well. I am looking forward to being schooled on some amazing topic.
Yes. I've got quite the treat for you today, just because it's kind of we're in the season, we're in the spirit. We've been talking about it a lot off Zoom. So I thought, why not let's just sit down, let's go over everything that we don't know, because this is a topic that we're aware of but don't know a lot about, and I think I'm about to make it 10 times worse.
I'm intrigued. Go on. What are we talking
Okay.
about?
So today we're going to be talking about American football, the greatest game, the classic sport, the oorah, the hoorah, everyone's talking about it. It's happening in the moment. It's coming up.
And what you and I know about American football is
Is
dangerous.
very little. And I'm about to make it 10 times worse, because I think the more I researched American football, the more I realized I don't know anything about American football.
Well, I'm hoping you can make it make sense to me because I've been trying to
I
get into it for 14, 15 years and it still doesn't make any bloody sense to me at all.
I'm going to be honest, I know a lot more about American football now than I did about a week ago. And even still, I don't think I'm a reliable narrator. I don't think I'm the best person to be talking about
Oh,
this, but I thought we could have a laugh together because it is very, it's very us, shall we say.
this
It's
is going to
very
be
us.
embarrassing. This is this is
It's
this
going
is
to,
going to be rough. This is
how
going
do
to
you
be
think I
rough.
feel? Yeah, I'm the one who did the research.
Okay.
You just get to sit there and enjoy the
Oh,
story. I have to actually prove that I know something.
this is. Could we not have discussed rugby? Rugby would have been a better
Well,
topic.
see,
That sport makes sense.
it's so funny you mentioned that, because this is going to start with the history
Oh,
of American football, which is basically which is better, rugby or soccer.
I already have an opinion.
I know you do. And I don't think that this is going to go the way that you think. So let's get started. Let me give you
Oh,
a
okay.
very brief, very abridged history of American football before we get into the sport itself.
I'm going to be drinking heavily during this
As you
one.
should. Because we know you have your
Goodness.
pour, because we are not poorly
Mm-hmm.
explained without a
Mm-hmm.
decent pour. Perfect.
Right. I'm braced for
Right.
it. Bring it on. Bring it
Let's
on.
go. All right,
Okay.
all right. So, the history of American football, as you can imagine, is filled with concussions, violence, and disputes. And as you can probably guess, it all stems from a terrible Frankenstein monster of soccer and rugby.
Okay.
Are you with me so far?
I'm hanging on. I'm there.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
So,
Bring it.
basically, the UK loves to impose upon its colonies the things that it loves.
Fair.
Not always right. So, of course, the UK colonizes Northern America. We've got France up in Canada. We've got all of these European nations all taken over the US. And with them, they bring their things that they do for fun. They bring their passion projects, their leisure time. And let me tell you, Europe really loved soccer, or as we call it, football. But I don't want to
Which
get
is his
confused.
proper name. Yeah. It's
Yes,
like
but I also don't
soccer.
want to be
Stupid
like,
name.
America loved football, but England also loved football. I know that our
Okay.
listeners are
All right.
international, so for the sake of translation and for common lexicon, I'm going to refer to European football as soccer and American football as football, because otherwise this script doesn't make any sense and
It's
you're
going to
going to
get
be confused
messy.
10 times over. So, Europe
Okay.
loves
So we
soccer.
got soccer. All right. We're
Yes.
calling it that.
Europe,
All right.
soccer, and rugby. And depending on where
Right.
you are, they have a preference. So, as UK is coming to the US, they are imposing their sports. They're imposing their passions. We really like to bake in our things, but also as colonizers, we also love to abandon a project halfway through. So soccer and rugby were left virtually untamed in North America, and they were left to mutate viciously.
Ah,
So
I
North
see.
America loved soccer, but
Mm.
at the time there was no regulation. There was no like standardized rule book. There was no league that was like, this is how you play the game, and these are the rules. It was basically like, yeah, this is just how me and the boys play. This is how me and the kids play. This is how we as
Gotcha.
a society played, which meant that it was left to freely mutate everywhere. And so one region's soccer was very different from another region's soccer. Another region's rugby was a very different from another region's rugby. Now, the states, as they in their infancy, the 13 states largely, and as they spread throughout North America, much preferred soccer, loved soccer. Canada was like, rugby is the gentleman's game, and we will not take any criticism at this time.
Okay. All right.
Gotcha. So we've got the states,
So far, so good.
soccer, Canada, rugby, and never the two shall mix.
Gotcha.
So with American soccer, because it was unregulated, there was no rule book, there was no league, there was no referee, there was no great international person. Like, that's not how you play the game. Nobody cared. So this version of soccer and this version of rugby were feral. And I mean that in like the nicest way I could possibly can, but it was
I gotcha.
feral.
Testosterone fueled.
The number of players on the field was illogical. It was whatever they felt like in the moment. Sometimes it was 11, sometimes it was 15, sometimes it was 25. At one point, we had 36 people on that field. The only objective, get ball in an opponent's goal. That was it. That's all we had to do. And it didn't matter how you got there. You just had to get it there.
Right. Sure.
Naturally, this became very popular with children and with schools.
Okay.
So after about the 200th hospitalization and the 600th police interjection, feral football was officially banned from schools after nationwide protests and interference from local government, basically saying, our children are killing themselves playing this stupid game.
Right. Okay. All right.
In the spirit of America, however, once they develop a habit, once they develop a thing that they like to do, it's very hard to shake. And schools and colleges in particular are very good at playing around the rules. So officially, soccer and rugby are banned. But
both
another
soccer
sport
and
that was
rugby.
similar, like it could be a similar game, as long as it wasn't called soccer or rugby, wasn't banned. So at this time as well, regulated ball manufacturing had started. So now we have these two official balls. We have a kicking ball and a running ball. Kicking ball for soccer, running ball for rugby. And some people were like, well, I kind of like the kicking ball for the running game, and I like the running ball for the kicking game. So a third, more powerful ball was made, which was called the run kick ball. And it was developed...
Well, that rolls right off the tongue.
Yes. And it was developed for a game called the Boston game, which tells you everything you need to know.
And I'm assuming this is taking place in Boston.
It's in Boston. The Boston game is made in Boston, and it is soccer, but it was even more feral than before. And it was only played by one football club called the Oneida. I think it's what it's called. How you pronounce it? Oneida? Oneida. The Oneida Football Club.
Oneida. All right. Sure.
Yeah. So they were pretty much the only school that played it for maybe like 3 years, and nobody better than I. They were like, sure, that's just the Boston game. That's not football. That's not rugby. It's just Oneida being silly. And because the game was mostly their own invention, and they were the ones that made it, and they were the ones that played it, they were the ones that won at it. And I'm
assuming that this was a big Irish community at this time in Boston. So rough and ready.
This was the 1860s, so yes, you can imagine it was fairly Irish, but it was very much the lads, and this was specifically in colleges. So this isn't like the gentleman after a day at work. This is college.
So this isn't working class. So it's maybe not the Irish then.
Yeah, it's mostly prep schools that are doing this because rich people with money, and they're bored and they want to hit each other. So, but Oneida Football Club, it's mostly done by the schools, but they decide to bring in a couple of outsiders because they need someone to play against. So they are bringing in a couple of other schools, neighboring schools. They invite other universities to participate. They invite other schools to participate. And basically, Oneida never lost a game, or did they ever let their opponent score a point because they had made up the game and they could change the rules on the fly.
Seems fair. That's very reasonable. Yeah.
Yes. So this once again led to a huge rise in feral soccer in the schools. Schools like Princeton, Rutgers, Brown, Columbia, Cornell, Dartmouth, Harvard, Yale, they were all playing this horrible feral soccer, but they weren't calling it football because it was different. That was banned. The Boston game, or in its many variations, because there was no rules, there was no regulations, everyone just kind of played the way that they wanted to. The game was once again incredibly violent, and once again, huge protests and big pushes to create regulations surged up. At this point, Canada was so into rugby, they were looking at America going, man, hate to be that guy. Don't want to play that game. That's killing people. It's much more civil up here in rugby with no padding and smashing into each other.
It's that old saying that rugby is played by hooligans and supported by gentlemen, and
Hmm.
football is played by gentlemen and supported by hooligans.
Yes. Yes. But at this point now, unregulated feral soccer was played by hooligans, supported by hooligans, and endorsed by hooligans. It was all hooligans the whole way through. Because
All
the
right,
only goal that they had was we gotta get the ball over there, and that guy's standing in the way, and
any
we got
which way.
36 people, and they got 42, and we're gonna smash into them, and we're gonna get the ball on the goal.
Okay,
Right.
seems reasonable.
So, at any rate, what was considered the first ever American football game was played on November 6th, 1869, between Rutgers and Princeton, both college teams, playing this weird bastard
Mm.
version of soccer football. Um, there were 25 players per team. They used a round kicking ball, not the run kick ball, just a round kicking ball. It could not be picked up, it could not be carried. Could, however, be kicked and batted with your feet, could be batted with your hands, your head, or your side of your body. So you could make contact with the ball however way you wanted to, didn't matter. You just couldn't carry the ball.
Oh,
Rutgers won 6-4. They got the ball in the goal 6 times, and Princeton got it in 4 times. Rutgers won
mm-hmm.
officially.
All right, nice.
Game still horrifically unregulated. It was sort of just like an agreement that they had at the beginning of the game, going, "Yeah, like we kind of know what we're doing. We got 25 guys. I got 25 guys. Get the ball over there."
Let's do it.
So in 1873, all of these colleges that I previously named, they came together and they were like, "Okay, if we're gonna stop playing together, we got to stop changing the rules on the day because we have no idea who's the best, what we're keeping track of, what's going on. Let's make an official rule book for this weird football game that we're playing. We're still kind of called
The
football.
hybrid. Okay,
Yes, this
hybrid sport.
horrible hybrid sport where you can't carry the ball, but you can swat it, bat it, throw it, get it in the goal. So they
Mm-hmm.
officially made this rule book, and all the schools were promised to dumb down the violence and instead focus on being gentlemen and being
Sure.
sportsmanlike. And this
How
lasted a
did that
whole of
work out?
2 minutes.
Yeah, didn't work out.
So the agreements of this rule was the teams were set at 20 players each. Fields had to be 400 feet by 250 feet, or 122 meters by 76 meters if you prefer. And Harvard, the school that it is, hated everything about this and instead thought the Canadians were actually onto something with this rugby business. They were like, I hate this violent game. I hate this stupid feral soccer. It doesn't make sense. We're killing each other, Mallory. We have no idea what's going on. I don't want to play this game anymore. So
Right.
Harvard starts playing games with Canada, playing not quite rugby because it's also kind of mutated on its own in Canada, but they're a lot more civil up there. They were much more polite. They say sorry when they smack into you.
It's rugby-esque at this point.
Yes, it's feral rugby, but it's much more civil than whatever soccer's doing in North America.
Okay.
Harvard really preferred being able to carry the ball. They really liked being able to hold the ball. They liked the control of it. And they also preferred a
Fair.
lot less players on the field because right now we're running at 20 to 25 people on the field. Rugby's still 11. And Harvard's like, man, 11 people is so much easier to manage and like it's much easier not to get hurt versus 25 people. So
Right.
Harvard pushed to have their own thing. They were like, I don't want to be part of this college circuit. I don't want to be any part of your feral football. We're going to be playing rugby with Canada, and you can't tell us what to do. And now all the other colleges are going, well, I want to do that too.
They have
I don't
FOMO.
I don't like that Harvard's different. We want
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
So then they started playing this feral version of rugby. And this is where the soccer and the rugby really started to hybrid. This is when they really became the same game. So it was kind of this feral soccer rules with rugby tactics is where we started seeing this drift. So in 1880, the rules were officially changed again, and they swapped the players from 25 per team to 15, which was immediately scrubbed and then changed to 15 to 11 because Harvard had a hissy fit. It added something called the snap because scrums were considered violent and very, like, disorganized. So they created the snap, which is throwing the ball between the legs, which is now what we do in American football. And this completely changed the
okay.
tactics of how we get it from the center to the opponent's goal. It helped a lot with the control of the game. Now, the problem with the snap is it added too much control to the game, And so people would infinitely snap to their own teammates and basically deny the opposition ever having a chance to hold the ball, which led to very one-sided games, which is not fun.
Right.
So even with all these new rules, the game was still incredibly violent. People were still smashing into each other, concussions left, right, and center, bones breaking. And after 19 incredibly serious deaths caused by the sport in colleges alone, President Theodore Roosevelt was like, I am going to ban this sport from the United States unless we do something about this because we're killing children.
Ooh. Spicy.
Yes. So the colleges got together again. They were like, okay, we gotta agree, guys. We gotta agree. Like, violence, no, not good. Sportsmanship, great. We're getting a little lost in the soup. We gotta just establish this, and we gotta stick with it, and we gotta stop killing kids. So the National Colgate Athletic Association, the NCAA, was born after this meeting. Players started getting paid to play. This is when we started seeing like, hey, we'll pay you if you work for our team, our college team, because this is all still a college sport. We're not professional. There's no adult division. It is all college teams. So colleges are now like, hey, we'll pay you if you come to our school and play for us. And I don't know if you know this, that's highly illegal. You're not allowed to pay students to come to your school to play a sport. So that was a big thing. So this kind of created the idea of sports clubs, where the game was played outside of a school setting, so that they could still pay players to join, but it couldn't be, you have to come to attend my university. We'll pay you to come get an education so you can play the game. Because of these sports clubs, now this remained like people were starting to be like, okay, we're going to pay you. That means that the salaries for good players started to go like increase exponentially. So that's where we see the rise in the salaries of these players. It's like, yeah, I'll pay you as much as you want because now we're not dealing with the college, we're not dealing with that law.
Yeah.
But once again, still being played in colleges. Colleges is still the primary dominant team, but now we're seeing like, hey, come after school and play the game. And so we saw a lot more of mixing of players. We saw a lot of people from Boston, people from Massachusetts, people from New England. They would come together separately and then go to school independently. So the National Football League, the NFL, was created as a group of professional teams outside of colleges in order to fix this issue of absorptive betting, paying students. It was to kind of help cut that. It was like, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it legitimately. There's going to be an official licensed league called the NFL. And
what year is this? What year is the NFL created?
It's done, I believe it's 1889. No, I lied. Sorry. It's in the 1920s. The 1920s is when the NFL
so we got to the 1920s. Okay, cool.
Yes, we're in the 1920s. Right. The 1920s is when the NFL is created to help fix this issue because God, we're fighting and people are paying students to to bludgeon each other to death. The NFL was basically like, hey, we'll let you do this, but we get to control it and we get to organize it and we get to say, this is how the game is played. So this is where official American football was regulated. The rule book was issued by the universities, it was perfected by the sports clubs, and now it was regulated by the NFL.
Can I ask a question?
Colleges, yes.
So, but is Canada still playing like rugby-esque, or are they on board with this as well?
No, Canada is still like, man, the Americans really like to beat each other up, and we are very civilized up in Canada. As far as I'm aware, like they do have American football played in Canada, but they still prefer rugby.
Okay, they're doing their own thing. Right.
Gotcha. Canada is not part of this equation because it's really the US that's doing all this. Canada's like, man, the Americans are really violent and I don't really want any part of that.
That seems reasonable.
Yes. So at the time, the colleges are still incredibly dormant, but now there's the understanding that one naturally segued from college football into professional football because if you love the game and you're getting paid to do it, and you're getting paid a fair bit to do it, it could in fact become a profession. So that's where the understanding is. The colleges were where it originated. That's where you established that you were a good player. And then when you outgrew college or you graduated or you moved on or you transferred, you can move into the professional clubs. Wow. And then by the 1960s, American football was the most popular sport in the United States. And that's kind of how we got to where we are today. So that's a really, really very abridged, very loosey-goosey, very, very, very threadbare history of American football. There's a lot more to it, but that's kind of what we're dealing with.
So the 1960s is the birth of what we now consider modern American football.
Yes, yes. This is where that iteration, what we see today, what's played in the Super Bowl. I mean, obviously, it wasn't to the scale of the Super Bowl at the time,
Sure.
but that's
Yeah.
kind of where we start getting this. Like, we understand like the rules, the plays, how to play. It's no longer soccer abridged. It's no longer feral football. It's no longer rugby. It's its own sport with its defined regulations. It is an established thing separate from everything else. It's its own
I think
sport.
I'm always going to know it now as feral football. I think it
It
should
is
just be
feral
renamed.
football.
Feral football. That's it. Job done.
Yes.
Feral.
So,
Right.
how do we get the leagues? Because as you and I have discussed in
Oh,
great detail over a dinner table, there's multiple
make it
leagues.
makes it does it, I oh,
So,
go on then.
in the
Mm-hmm.
1960s, we have the NFL. They're the dominant club.
Yeah.
Well, in the 60s, when American football is the most popular sport in the United States, something called the AFL is created, which was a rival league designed to compete with the NFL, poach their players, and basically be the superior version of American football.
But why?
Well, the
Why
idea
did they need it?
Well, a lot of it comes down to it's kind of like capitalism rules, if you remember. It's like monopolies versus like competition. If the NFL is the only thing in sport, there's no competition. It can be very rigged. It can be very unregulated. So this was designed kind of to create a competitive, separate instance. But the idea was also to help bring minority players into the game because right now it's predominantly white men from wealthy backgrounds going to nice schools, but
Right.
there's a big threshold of other unused, untouched players, within black people, Asians, women, predominantly minorities who have the capability to play but are not being given the opportunity. So the AFL was kind of designed to fix that, and it really brought in most of the African American players. It brought in a lot of these minorities to play their own league, where they were given a fair chance compared to the NFL, which was very, if you're a white and you had money and you went to school, you joined this.
Okay. Well, that makes a little more sense then. So it was just all about equality.
Yes, that was the basic idea behind the AFL. It was much more
Yeah.
about let's make it. If it's the most popular sport, why are only rich white men playing it? And let everyone play it for a fair chance. And
Which
it was
makes
designed.
sense during the 60s because
Yeah.
that's the big push for civil rights. That's when
Yes.
so much in America changed.
Yes.
Interesting.
And that
Okay.
the NFL is the National Football League and the AFL is the American Football League. And basically,
Right.
they were two competing entities, but they were both very popular because one was kind of like, here's the standard, here's the prestige, here's how it grew up, here's the white man's, rich man's club, and then here's the everyman's football. Here's Jeremy from the street is playing this game. These are not people who have to go to Princeton, Harvard, Yale. These are not people who need to be cut a break. They could just play. If they
Mm-hmm.
had the capability to play, they could play. So they also kind of worked with the NFL to help encourage colleges to consider bringing in more minorities to the school, as well as bringing new features to the game that made it a little bit more equal. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, that rich white man has that physique. He has a clear advantage. Now it was kind of
Mm-hmm.
like anyone could play this role if they know what they're doing. So as the leagues grew and they became more endorsed by television, so the AFL actually had sponsorships with ABC and NBC, which is Disney and Universal for those who don't know. Like they separately had contracts with both to help fund the AFL and make it a legitimate competitor against the NFL. And as they both grew, they kind of realized that they kind of needed each other to keep each other honest. So then people started petitioning a merger between the AFL and the NFL, where it wasn't a complete merger. One didn't absorb the other, one didn't take over, but they began to work in partnership. So the NFL would become the mother organization. It would become the master league because it had the prestige, it had the history, it had the background. But the AFL would be a separate entity within the NFL, where it would still create that competition. It would still be its own separate entity, but they were no longer poaching each other's draft picks. They were no longer, bitter rivals that never connected. It gave them a chance to play against each other. And it also created this massive event at the end of the championship, again, at the end of the season, where the best team from the AFL would fight the best team from the NFL, which is called the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's how the Super Bowl came to be.
Yes.
Okay, so it's the league team from each league plays each
Yes.
other.
They fight off. So they don't the AFL and the NFL, as the basic, they changed their name to the AFC and the NFC, which is the American Football Conference and the National Football Conference. The NFL becomes like the name of the master thing, but the AFL
Oh.
is now the AFC in there. They still are separate, but now they use the same draft, so that gives the players a bit more freedom to choose which league they want to join, whether it's the AFC or the NFC. They play completely separate games during the season. They don't touch, they don't mix, they don't compete. But the very best team from the AFC and the very best team from the NFC, at the very end of the season, they meet off and they compete against each other at the Super Bowl. And that's really how we got to where we are.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, you can always ask a question.
Thank you, darling. Can teams swap out of the league that they're in? So if a team is playing in the AFC, can they say, well, we've had enough of playing with these people. We now want to join the NFC. Can we move over there?
So I don't know the answer to this, but my guess is going to be yes, because the draft is the draft, right? The pool of players doesn't change from the AFC to the NFC. You know, the people coming out of the colleges into the professional scene, they're all the same. And it just depends on which team you join. And of course, where you're from usually dictates your reliance, as we know. You don't pick your team that you support. It is thrust upon you by your parents.
Sure is.
So, if you're from Boston, you're going to primarily support a Boston team. You're going to be wanting to go against teams that align with your values.
Yeah.
So
it's tribal.
Yes. So I think, truthfully, you can swap. I think you are able to swap between NFL. Like, you don't have to make the decision out of college and then that's it. You're stuck in that league forever.
But the question was, can the entire team move from one league into a different league?
I don't believe so. I think once the team is established, it's established under that league rules. Because the league rules, I think, slightly vary for personal games. And then the Super Bowl has its own set of rules different from the AFC and the NFC.
Sure.
There's also like a Division 1 NCAA that also has completely different rules. There's other divisions that compete, but those are the main two under the NFL. The rules do vary for personal games, but I think the understanding is when the leagues come together, they have a set established rule set.
Right. So is this the point that you try and explain the rules of the game to me?
Yes, this is exactly the point that I'm trying to explain the rules of the games. But I'm going to start with the teams. What is on the team? And I have the barest basic bitch version of what the teams are. I'm not an expert. I can't tell you what these people do. All I can tell you is the name, the composition, and basically what we're trying to do.
This is the positions in a team.
Yes.
Okay. All right. If I get confused, I'll ask my mate Chat and all of his buddies GPT.
Sure.
Yes, yeah.
I think we have to consult or pull a tarot card. Maybe that'll explain it.
That might make more sense.
So,
okay, go for it.
An American football team is made up of 11 players on each field because we managed to cut it down from 36 to 25 to 15 to 11. So we have 11 players on field, and they're broken up into 3 units: the offensive unit, the defensive unit, and the special unit. Now, of course, teams can have more than 11 players as long as they're not on the field. There's just 11 players in active play. The NFL has a 53-man roster per team, so each team can have up to 53 men on team at any given point. But the NCAA Division 1, allows teams to have up to 105 players on call. Why so many? We'll never know.
No, seriously?
You only need 11. You only need 11. But you can have up to 105 people just sitting on the benches ready to be substituted in at any given point.
Wow. Okay.
So,
all right.
Teams are primarily broken up into the following: 5 offensive linemen, a quarterback, a running back, a tight end, and 3 receivers.
I love that somebody's called a tight end. That's so
tight
cool.
end. Oh,
Okay,
I have a list of. There are a lot of roles in this game. I
it.
can't define them for you, but the names are quite ridiculous.
What do you do for a living? I'm a tight end. Oh,
okay. Well, other notable roles I haven't mentioned but are in the game are the halfback, the fullback, the defensive end, the defensive tackle, cornerbacks, free safeties, strong safeties, middle linebackers, outside linebackers, the place kicker, the holder, the long snapper, the kickoff runner, the punter, the upback, and the gunner.
A long snapper and an upback are legitimate. You're not. These aren't Caitlin facts. These are
This is not
genuine
Caitlin.
facts.
I wish this was a Caitlin fact because God, that would be amazing. This is cricket all over again.
Oh man.
Yes, so those
Oh,
are roles that I
sure.
can't help define, but they
Sure.
are official roles in the team, and you can have any number of them as long as you have 5 offensive linemen, a quarterback, a running back, a tight end, and 3 receivers. So the quarterback
Like a
will receive a
shopping
ball.
list.
It is. Can you go to the store and
Okay.
pick me up 5 offensive linemen
And a tight end.
and a tight end? A long snapper if they have it, but only if it's fresh.
Yeah. Oh, check the check the sell by date.
Yeah, see what draft batch this is part of. It really matters.
Oh man. Oh, I
Right.
love this. I love this for all of us. All right, go for it. Carry on.
So the quarterback receives the ball after a snap, which is throwing the ball between the legs, and they can either run the ball, hand off the ball, or throw the ball.
Okay.
The goal is
Sure.
to get the ball as far towards the opposition's goal as possible, but before the other team tackles you and halts the play. You with me?
Okay. No. Okay. Okay.
The off. All right.
Carry
Basically,
on.
the objective of the game is very simple: get the ball to the goal
Over.
on the other side
Yeah.
of the pitch.
Just
You start
score.
in the
Any
middle.
which way. Yeah.
You start
Oh,
in the
God.
middle. From the middle, the ball is snapped to the quarterback. The quarterback has the ball. He can throw it, he can run it, or he can pass it.
But he can't kick it.
So you can run it, hand off, or throw. So running it, I believe, is like kicking it, but it also is like a special teams rule. Like that's just what the plays are called. They're called run the ball, hand off the ball, or throw the ball.
Bloody
Traditionally,
hell. All right.
they run. They'll do a run, which I think is throw, let the game in play. But I'm not the right person to be explaining this. I don't know the game myself. All I know is get the ball over there.
Yeah. All
Right?
right then.
So
Super.
the team has 4 plays. When they're in control of the ball, they get 4 plays or downs to get at least 10 yards. But the more yards they can get, the merrier. So if the
I'm trying to
offense
keep up.
succeeds, so in 1 down, if the offense succeeds in advancing the ball the full 10 yards, the number of tries to push the 10 yards is reset and you go again. So as long as you make 10 yards in 4 plays, you get to keep playing as the offense.
Right, and this is the whole scoring thing that always freaks us out. It's like
We're not even at
54
scoring. Wait,
oh,
yes. We're not even at scoring yet, but yes, this is when you see like first and 10 or second and so the first number is which play you're on, and the second is how many yards you have to go. And
Right.
it is possible to go backwards. So if you are on play 1 and you throw the ball and the defense manages to get it backwards, you can be 2nd and 25. You can be 2nd and 3rd and 35th. Your goal is you have to make 10 positive yards from where you started. So if you are 2nd and 25, you have to clear 25 yards in 3 plays.
I love how seriously you're trying to get me to understand this bloody game.
Because
love
if I
this.
don't
Love this.
if you get under my skin, if you get under my plate of armor, I will lose focus and I will not be able to explain this to you. This is very difficult, and I spent a week teaching myself this so I could explain it to you.
I cannot wait for the Super Bowl. I cannot wait for you to sit there and give me a play-by-play on what the bloody hell is happening.
That's bold of you to assume that I will be watching the Super Bowl after this, because this has only intensified my hatred of the sport. I will not be
my
partaking.
God.
Just because I understand it doesn't mean I want anything to do with it.
I just want to watch the adverts at the halftime show and call it a good day.
Sure, whatever makes you happy, Mama. But I will not be there.
Okay, all right.
Right, be with me.
Super
Your 4
dupes.
plays, advance 10 yards. If you do it, you get to go again. If you don't do it after 4 plays, you have to give the ball to the opposition. That's called a turnover. It's because it's literally turning over control of the ball. Then the defense gets to do the same thing, and then they infinitely loop until one of them scores or one of them, I don't know, dies.
And I'm correct to assume that after every time there is movement with the ball, a play, everything stops.
I'm not
That's
there
it.
yet. Hold on. We're not at the time yet.
Ah.
Give me a second. I was just explaining how the game works.
Oh,
All right. So you have the ball, four plays. Get it 10 yards. If you get it 10 yards, play again. If not, hand it over. Turnover. When you're on offense, you have to score points. And points are scored by either performing a touchdown, which is getting the ball in the end zone, and that's worth
Points and
6
prizes.
points. Worth 6
All right.
points for some reason. Or you score a field goal by getting the ball through the goalposts, and that's worth 3 points. So if you are not able to get a touchdown, you can go for a field goal, which is half the points, but you still get points. After scoring a touchdown, the offense is granted an opportunity to score an additional set of points by either kicking the ball from a designated yard line, worth 1 point, or they can run the ball into the end zone for 2 points. Primarily, we see them kicking it for the 1 point because usually at the level of football that we're playing, they're usually only like 5 points behind each other.
Right.
But in dire games where any point will make or break the game, they will try and run the ball because 2 points can go pretty far.
So that's what they call a conversion. You can convert your original points into more points by kicking it or running with it again.
It's not a conversion. It's just a choice. You always get the opportunity to get additional points after a touchdown. It's just whether do you want to go for a safe 1 point or a more risky 2 point. The 1 point is usually guaranteed to work because you have specialized trained kickers. If you run it, you run the risk of running into defense because they can block you.
And these are your special forces that you bring onto the pitch. They're the ones
this is the teams. And their whole job is to kick the ball. That is their whole job. You with me?
I'm holding on, babe. I'm holding on. Super. Okay.
Yes. So naturally, the opponent's job is to prevent scoring by any means necessary. They can do this by tackling a player to stop progress, intercepting the ball, which is catching the ball when it's thrown, and a defensive player gets it instead of an offensive player, or if the offense fumbles, then they drop the ball during play.
Right.
Defense gets possession after a turnover, so basically defense and opposition swap sides, but that's usually only done after a touchdown or an interception. Games are 1 hour long, and this is the greatest lie the NFL has ever told anyone. So the 1 hour long games consist of 4 quarters that are 15 minutes each, which is also a bold-faced lie.
Yep.
So the clock is stopped and started so aggressively, games typically span longer than 3 hours. 4 is not out of, it's not like an exaggeration. Sometimes they can go for 4 hours, especially if you introduce something called overtime, but we'll get there. Plays typically last seconds because it's throw ball, run, tackle. Throw ball, run, tackle within the span of maybe 4 seconds. And so the quarters are very drawn out. They're not consistent. And over 150 ads are played because we are a slave to cheap beer, detergent, and celebrity endorsement. And advertising has a chokehold on our sports system.
I think that's why the advertisers, the sponsors, love American football so much, because they can interject so many commercials in this, because it's just.
It is the most long-winded game, other than cricket, that I have ever seen in my life.
Okay, yeah.
So
I'll give you that one.
Teams change ends of the field. So like, in football, at halftime, they swap sides.
Yes.
So American football also swaps sides, but only after the first quarter and the third quarter, because halftime, for some reason, didn't seem like a good idea.
That's too logical.
So they play 1 quarter, then they swap sides, halftime, no swap, play it in the same configuration for the third quarter, then they swap sides for the fourth.
You can tell a man came up with this sport. It makes
It
no
made
bloody
sense to someone.
It makes no bloody sense at all.
It made sense to someone.
Jesus, give me strength.
Yes.
And this is the problem. People are born with this sport, so they accept it
and it
as
just
logical.
Makes sense. It's baked into you.
For us coming in and trying to pick this sport up, it's a bloody nightmare. It makes no sense at all.
One of the most difficult sports to get into if you are not baked into it. And you and I are not baked into it.
We went to like the whole Friday night. We go to a Friday night. We have tried, man. We have tried, but this makes no sense.
And the more I research, the more I find out about the game, the worse my feelings become. Where it's just, I don't get it. It's not my sport. If you love it, I'm so happy for you. But why is it the way that it is?
We've sat on the bleachers, shivering, eating the bloody hot dogs, trying to
Hmm.
make sense of this. But no, I've just,
Yes.
it's a mystery.
So teams swap sides, but only after the first quarter and the third quarter. And the
Oh,
middle of the game, after the second quarter, at halftime, is usually a halftime show of some variety. It's
the
usually either
highlights.
cheerleaders.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's usually cheerleaders or marching bands that is quickly overthrown. If
Love.
you're not there in the moment, you get ads. That's your halftime show. In the case of the Super
Yeah.
Bowl, however, you get whatever hot celebrity's name is pulled from a hat. It's just
Mm-hmm.
whatever they feel is the most pertinent person to play. This year it's Bad Bunny. I can't wait to see how people get outraged by it. It is what it is.
It's, I mean, it has such enormous cultural significance to
Yeah.
so many people. It's not just what's going on the pitch, it's the cheerleaders and the marching bands
Yeah.
and
But
the
it's things that you, if
commercials.
you
And
watch a game, because I would never want to watch a live football again after Friday Night Football.
no,
To watch
no.
a game in the NFL live, like the disrespect to the people who play at halftime that when they're not at the Super Bowl, the marching bands, the dance troops, the
Yeah.
cheerleaders,
Yeah.
they
The
are
color guard.
you are. It's just because they can't jam enough advertising into you, like they can't beam the ad straight into your brain, so like they get completely shafted. You've got these people who are trained athletes in
Yeah.
marching band, in
Yeah.
cheerleading, and dance, and they're just completely scrubbed over because someone wants to sell me
Yeah.
a Tide Pod.
Yeah. Fair. The thing I did love about going to the live games
Hmm.
was the sense of community. That I
Yes.
understand. There is an identity where the alumni from the high school, everybody shows up on a Friday night, everybody's eating hot dogs, everybody's having a beer, they're watching the game, and there is genuine passion and
Yes.
commitment to that. After that, you've lost me. I
Yeah.
don't get, because it is all prima donnas that only
Yep.
play for a couple of bloody minutes. They're all covered in armor anyway,
Yep.
so you can't even see who's who.
Yep.
And explain to me why do people have the towels hanging out the back of their trousers? What's that about?
One of life's greatest mysteries.
There is so many great mysteries. I've seen them run
Hmm.
around with fanny packs and towels, and oh, I don't understand it. It's just
These are
doesn't make
things I
sense.
can't. I wanted to get this
Doesn't make
as
sense.
nice and succinct as I could. I tried, and I've got
It,
one last paragraph to tell you about, which is
all right, go
overtime,
on then.
because the game is
Oh,
not long enough.
oh
Overtime exists.
God. All right, go on
So
then.
this only happens if a game is tied after the end of fourth quarter, which is about 4.5 hours into the game. And then teams will primarily use a coin toss to decide which team goes first. First team, the team chosen is offense. The second team is defense, and the first team to get a touchdown is the person who scores first. Immediately creates a turnover, and defense is allowed to try and score back. If the second team that's playing, the defense switch to offense, if they can't score, the first team wins. If they do score and the game is tied, then it goes into sudden death, and then at that point, it's just whichever first team is first to score. Um, Overtime is capped at 10 minutes, which basically means another hour and a half.
At least
And
another hour and a half.
another hour and a half. And if in 10 minutes a winner cannot be decided, the game is officially classed as a tie. Ties don't happen that often. Americans don't really believe in ties. That's how it's played. But that is my
Oh,
very loosey-goosey abridged history of American football. Poorly explained.
it's just so challenging, this game. Bloody hell.
Yes.
But I appreciate you giving it a good step. You gave it a solid effort
I
there.
gave it
Thank you,
I gave it
darling.
my best welly, as only a brick can, but
I
goodness
love that.
gracious.
Is it going to mean that I now want to start watching American football? Not so much. Not so
I
much.
definitely,
But
as
also,
someone who sat down and did the research, I don't. So I wouldn't wish that upon you.
I'll watch rugby. I'll watch the rugby games,
I
but
don't know
that's
if I'd watch rugby.
because it's because the players are really just in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, and the only armor they have is a gum guard that they've shoved in their mouth, and you get to
I
see a
think
lot
that
more
makes it
flesh.
worse somehow. It's like I kind of
Oh, I
enjoyed
don't
like you're
know.
wearing a suit of armor, But like, I mean, they're just it's all feral sports. American football is feral, rugby is feral, soccer is feral. It's all just
Testosterone
a
driven.
bit. I know that there's all about the push for sportsmanship and less violence and camaraderie, but I'm not sold. It's been about 200 years, and I'm not sold.
Do women play American football? Because obviously,
Yes.
women's rugby league is huge, but I
So
don't know anything about women playing American
women are
football.
allowed. They're allowed to play college football and professional football.
Okay,
They just tend not to get picked. But there's no rule in the NFL that says they can't.
but there isn't
Women
a
do.
women's league. There isn't a women's league.
There is a women's football league, but it's flag football, which is a modified version of American football.
Oh, I
So
gotcha.
tackle football, it's technically a co-ed sport, but women just don't flourish in this sport usually because I don't know, teams restrict who can get tackled. They don't like to see man on woman violence. It's so they are allowed, but there is no push for women to be incorporated into American football. The primarily women's American Football League is American flag football, which is less
Okay,
tackle,
gotcha.
more rip the flag out of the fanny pack.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, thank you, daughter of mine, for trying very
Ooh.
bravely to make this make sense. That,
You know,
yeah.
I'm very good, but I don't know if I'm that good. I mean, this is such a difficult sport to get behind, to learn, to explain,
understand.
to get
Yeah.
behind. I know
Yeah.
Dad's trying really hard, but man, it's not for me. I'll stick to my race cars. Thank you very much.
Yes.
But thank you for
yes,
sitting
which-
down with me and letting me try and poorly explain American football to you. Hopefully you learned something.
I'm not sure what I learned, but yeah, sure. Thank you, daughter of mine. I appreciate it.
Well, always a pleasure, and I can't wait to hear what you have in store for me next week because I can't. I'm sure it's
It
going
won't
to
be this convoluted, I can
as
assure you.
colourful as American football.
All right,
Oh,
then. Thank you,
dear.
darling.
Always a pleasure. Love you, Mum.
Okay. Bye, love. Bye.
Bye.